right. Today's episode is building confidence and purpose. All right, I'm going to give you three key talking points. Key talking point number one, confidence is built, not born. Number two, stop waiting to feel ready. 3, purpose gives direction. So I really want to talk about, that first one. The confidence is built and not born because, that's growing up. I didn't have a good role model to look up to. I didn't have, you know, anyone to look up to basically because, growing up, my parents were always out, working, doing what they had to do, which is good. But I didn't have that, person to look up to. So what I've learned is confident people weren't born that way. Confidence comes from action and repetition and experience. So I thought it was just something that could be done overnight. But lo and behold, when I read, some books, heard some podcasts, and even experienced the life, I noticed that, you need to have that willpower, that, strength to be like, you know what? Whatever the outcome is whatever the outcome is, as long as I step out of my comfort zone. And basically, every small win creates evidence that you are capable of. It's like, going to the gym. Some people never, wake up to go to the gym, or some people don't wake up and say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. They just don't do it. But that small win of just going to the gym, even though you didn't work out, is going to speak volumes. And then the next day you can say, you know what? Now I'm going to do something. So, and also confidence isn't believing you'll never fail. It's knowing you'll be okay even if you do, because there's no such thing as failure. I don't see anything as a failure, because if it is a failure, that means you should have known how to do it in the first place. But we've never been in that situation. We've never had that experience for us to actually say, oh, I failed at something, when we've never even done it to begin with, right? And now that brings me on to key point talking number 2. Stop waiting to feel ready. Same with me, and it's like it was built in me. It's like, oh, you got to have this ready. You got to have that, financially stable. You got to be this type of, be in this type of career in your life. But, growing up, we're not taught to be like, hey, just do it instead of having everything lined up. Basically, many men delay goals because they don't feel prepared. Growth happens by stepping into discomfort, right? So those two key points right there. There's always the fear of like, oh, if I do so many things all at once, I'm not gonna get to my original goal. But at the same time, you got to do some side quests. You got to do some side, experiences, because the main goal is the main goal. But without experience, you're just going to get to the main goal, and no experience, you're just going to be there lost. You're going to be there like a lost dog, not knowing what to do. So sometimes you do got to, take the detour. Sometimes you got to take the scenic route so that you can really get out of your comfort zone. And also, action creates confidence, not the other way around. So the more actionable things you do in life, the more experience you're going to get, and the more you're going to feel confident in what you're going to do and how you're going to move and how you're going to lead, right? So I've done that many times. That's how I live my life. I say, you know what? I'd rather do something and do it 100%. And if, it doesn't come to the, answer that I like, it's okay. At least I was confident enough to do it. At least I was willing to do it. I didn't let, the fear of failure, like they say, or the fear of anything, because, that's not who I am. I'd rather do something and in some cases be heartbroken, be emotional, be something that's trigger something negative instead of just not doing it at all and just having the thought of or having even the illusion of, right? And now it brings us to talking point number 3. This is a very important one to me. I've had a lot of thought on it, so it was purpose gives direction. Without a purpose, it's easy to feel lost, distracted, or unmotivated. So you got to have a purpose no matter what it is, if it's big or if it's small. And if it's big, then break it down into little pieces because that's how I was. I had a big purpose, big, direction that I wanted to go in, but I didn't see the small steps that I needed to take, the small, side quests that I needed to do, the detours, the experiences I need to experience, the emotions I needed to experience as well. So basically, purpose doesn't have to be one grand mission, right? We had to break it down into those little missions. We had to see how we're gonna build up to that grand mission because it's like a painting. Yeah, you have a painting, you have this goal, this vision of how you want to be, how it wants to look, details and everything, but yet we don't have the colors to paint it. We just have a sketch. We just have a blank canvas, but we know what it is. And that is it for the podcast. Tune in next week. All right, stay tuned for this discussion with guest Caesar.
About building confidence and purpose. There's no easy way in doing this. Talking about personal experience, one of the most difficult ones is building confidence. Um, like you mentioned, it's not something. There's no manual for that, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's no way in following something that is there just to create a confidence. Building it. Sometimes it's just trial and error. And like I said, there's no direct answers. There's no you can say correct path because by taking chances, opportunities, is you either know if it's the right way, wrong way, and therefore just start building your confidence from there. Like I said, in my case, from experience, probably the worst ones has been building confidence.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. You have like some opinion or ideas of where to start, for example, um, because like, hey, you just need confidence, right? Like, just do this. If it is a discipline, learning an instrument, going to the gym, exercising, sport, maybe talking to a lady, is like, hey, just go and do it.
Yeah, they just tell you just to say it, and you're like, okay, well, where's the context? How do I go and talk to him? What do I say? How do I say it? What's the delivery? There's so many little things into just going up to someone or approaching something, situation, or everything, right?
Yep, yep. So that's basically my issue. Is like it's so simple just to say go do it, but like I said, it's like okay, how do I do it? Where do I start? What is the best approach? Some people may have a little bit more confidence than others. It's like hey, it's great. I'm not doing it. It's like there's no right answer. I'm just gonna try it out, and if I fail, I know why I fail and where. But some people are different. Some men is like hey, how can I approach this lady, ask her out, ask for a coffee, something like that. I don't know where to start. So there's no guide, there's no manual. It's just trial and error, but sometimes too difficult just to do that one thing.
Right. Or they do have books and then they tell you, okay, these are some pickup lines. And then, I'm pretty sure most of these women have heard of that. Or even they tell you, okay, this is how you approach a situation as well. And then you approach that situation, but it's like, okay, you know what? It didn't work, but is it the situation that worked or that didn't work? Or is it that the methods that you used to approach that
Mhm.
situation didn't work?
And sometimes it transforms into maybe it's me.
Hmm.
It doesn't work for me.
So you got to find out what works for you. So with that, you got to find out who you are and what makes you confident, because you are confident in some aspects. So if it is, you know, in talking about certain things or doing certain things, then do those certain things that make you confident. And, in a case of, talking to new people or meeting and interacting, all you got to do is just, be very approachable, go into the mindset and go into the conversation of, hey, look, I just want to get to know you. I just want to see how this situation is. You're basically wanting to see it at a surface level, because at the end of the day, you're putting so much emotion and so much effort into something that hasn't happened yet. So in the case of talking to people, right? Talking to anybody, girls in particular, you go into that situation like, oh, what if I get rejected? What if I do this? What if I, like, you're already putting so many of those scenarios in your head instead of just saying, hey, hi, how you doing? How's your day? Simple. You say very nonchalant. You say with a very calming tonality, and it's not gonna alert them. It's not gonna give off any vibes. It's just a very genuine person. If that's who you are, that's who you are. You're not trying to be someone you're not, right? Because if you approach a situation, in any situation, a person that you are not, then it's going to come off as not genuine. It's going to come off as forced. And then to you as well, you're going to be like, okay, well, since I'm not this person, how do I become this person, right? So instead of looking at it like that, we got to switch it and say, you know what? I'm going to become this person. These are the steps that I'm going to take, you know? And if it means, saying what I need to say, you got to say it however you say. If it's, hey, how you doing? Or what's up? Or if it's saying something funny, or if it even needs, or if it is compliments, like, hey, you know what? I like your hair. I like your shoes. I like this. I like that. Whatever it is, as long as it's genuine to you, as long as it's something within your realm, within your territory of doing, instead of you venturing out somewhere else, or you doing something that you're not used to, or being someone who you're not, and saying those things or doing those things, because it's going to be foreign to you. You're going to be like, well, how do I maneuver this body? How do I become this person I'm not, right? Yeah.
But also now, I guess another important part is not losing your identity as yourself. Thinking of getting yourself and you know, and building the confidence is also making you don't lose the identity, not become something else, right, or someone else.
Exactly. It's always the hard
Because
part.
it is good to build your confidence and trying something different, but changing totally maybe have a negative effect also.
Yeah, because then you become that personality, that person, that identity, like you said. And
A false one.
exactly. And sooner than later, it's gonna catch up to you, and it's gonna be like, okay, now you're juggling two identities, two masks. So it's like, okay, where is it going to mesh? Is it gonna mesh into your personal life? Is it gonna merge into your business? Where is it gonna merge into, where it becomes too much, where it becomes overfilling, right? Where the top of the top just overflows, and then it's like, okay, now who am I? Because I played this part so much that, I became this person, this identity, right?
Yeah. And also to mention something, I don't know what you think about this one, but for example, when building confidence, some may see it as something that is maybe negative because some people are afraid. If we're talking about the same subject about, hey, I like this lady, I want to talk to her, get her number, invite her for a cup of coffee, something like that. Uh, mm, some may think is like, hey, maybe she's too pretty for me. I'm gonna fail from the beginning. But there's also another way of thinking, which is okay. I can try it out. I can get the no, because that's the usual saying, right? You always have the no, the rejection. So it's like, what if just try it out? But also besides of that, you also have the issue of some may be thinking, um, okay, I'm wasting my time because maybe it's not gonna be positive in the short long term. So, do you think this is related to the building confidence, the fear of rejection and the fear of losing time?
So it could be a two-part, type of discussion in that sense, because You can go to the path of like, okay, you know what you want, you know what you're looking for, and you know how it is because you've had it before. You've done it before. It's been in your, you've had the experience. It's something that's known. So if it's something as a simple like, okay, the way she looks is like, oh, if it's out of your league, then you've already had that experience, with the people always coming to her, people always commenting on her social media as well. So if that's something that you already know that you don't want and like, it's like, ah, you know what, I might stay away from that, in that sense, or you can be like, okay, you know what, she's too pretty. You have that thought in your head and you're like, you know what, I don't want to waste my time going down that rabbit hole. So might as well not just approach her. And I'm not saying it's judging or anything like that. It's just that's who you are. That's basically what you filter your life out to be. So if it doesn't fit that filter, then delete it, right? You want to try with someone or do with someone, that's worth it, that's worthy of it, instead of like, I'm gonna have to try too much, or, because sometimes, like they say, you never know until you try. But it's really up to you as a person, as a man. If you want to try that person out, that situation out, then by all means, go for it. But you got to remember, if it's who you are, don't worry about that outside noise. Don't worry about what social media will say. Oh, well, look at that. He's attractive or she's attractive, or you know what? He's too good for her or she's too good for him. It doesn't matter what the outside noise is. The outside noise is the outside noise. What is with you is who you are. That it doesn't matter. No one can tell you who you are. So however route you want to take is going to be, I wouldn't say the right one, but I would say the right one to your experience, to the experiences you're going to overcome. Right? Makes sense?
Yep. And yeah, that's it makes sense. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that related to this topic, maybe focusing on another type of activity, which is the hobbies, maybe exercise, uh, building confidence and purpose. Because let's say I wanna look better, right? Like I wanna be physically better. Um, I'm not gonna go deep in everything, but for example, going to the gym, right? Same. Some may actually think that it's too. I'm not gonna say difficult, but it's a hassle. Um, of course, it depends on each one of us because we're all different. But one of my experiences is, for example, I've never been a physical type of doing exercise sports like that. I don't enjoy it. I don't hate it, but I know I have to do it because one, it builds you that confidence, but it makes you feel healthier. So one of the things that I would recommend, and you probably can agree, is, for example, and I had this experience so many times. I stopped doing cardio. I get in. I start jogging, maybe running. What happens with my body because I stop doing cardio? I get all itchy. I feel weird, and it makes me want to stop. It's like, hey, this is not for me. But in my case, because it happened to me before, I know it's gonna go away eventually. So I just keep on going, and that's how, in my case, from personal experiences, like I know why this is happening. I know it's gonna get better, so I keep trying it, right? And that's my own confidence. It's like, hey, I want to get better. I want to go to the gym just because of I want to be healthier, even though I am not a fan of exercising.
Right. That's your formula that you figured out.
Uh huh.
Hey, like continue this.
Yeah.
It's not gonna last X amount of time.
Yeah.
It'll too pass.
Yeah, because I've seen this in other people. Is like, hey, it hurts too much. That this next day is like, of course it does. Maybe you can start, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, is um, you know, set the objectives. Don't go too hard. Don't visualize the whole thing as a one. Start slow. Um, and using the topic of exercising cardio, let's say, don't start running. Maybe walk, and then the next day start jogging a little bit faster. Maybe 1 minute, maybe 3 minutes, minute five, maybe five, and then the next day you start accelerate. Yeah, progression. Same thing when lifting. Don't start too hard because I've seen people getting like, like the body aches. The next day is like, you can get injured. It's like, oh, I'm not going. It's not for me. And so so I guess in this case, you can probably fill in out if you wanna expand a little bit, right? But you can agree that it's never simple, but it's never too hard or impossible. Just take a step, a step by step. If it is dating, if it is exercises, simplify the things and just keep going because it's not gonna be easy the first time.
It never is. Like they say, if you want a bigger goal, you got to break it down into little pieces. How are those little pieces? That's what you got to figure out. And that's always the I don't like to say hard part for me because I don't think anything's hard. I think anything is interesting because for me, for it being hard, it's something that I've already done one time and I can't do it again. So when I try something new or when I do something new, I always change my mindset to this is interesting. Why? Because I'm interested in the unknown. I'm interested in how far I'm willing to push myself. I'm interested to see how far I can unlock myself by myself, right? Without any outside help, because that's how it is. I always, for me personally, life is like a video game. You choose the path that you want to choose, you choose the friends, you choose everything. So this is the life you're going to live. But if you want to change it, it's that easy, but at the same time hard as well, because you're going to see certain paths open up for you and it's going to be a path that you're not normal to. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm not used to that. But it's okay because it could lead to something better than what you're already at. Right. So that's how I see it as. But yeah, you got to take it step by step and you got to find out your identity in each of those steps of the unknown. So it's like, okay, you know what? I like to do it like this. Don't overdo it because you've already done it. So instead of telling yourself, I'm not going to do it again, it's like, okay, now I know where my overdose is basically. I should have not lifted heavy my first time coming back to the gym, or I should have not approached this type of a woman when I'm not ready to, or when I should have dressed better, all these little things that tie into the bigger picture, right? So you got to take those little steps, those little strides and be like, okay, it's like life is like a puzzle. You got to find those little pieces. And once you find the pieces, that's when you unlock your true potential, your true self. And that's how you become the person that you are supposed to be, right?
Yep. Well, and that's everything.
All right. Tune in next week.
Believe in yourself.
Ooh.